Hi there, my name's Adam Fielding and welcome to another one of my music making streams. So I've been talking about doing a jungle tune during one of these streams for quite a while, and I figured this week was the week. So you may have noticed, some of the more eagle-eyed among you may have noticed that I have an audio track which is labelled Amen right there, and I'll get into that in a second. As always, my rack is very straightforward in this instance, so I've got the output section going into a maximizer which is going into the hardware output. So that's literally all that's there, and this particular audio track. So obviously one of the main staples of drum and bass and jungle production in particular is the Amen break. So this particular Amen break was sourced from Luke Vibert's Lockdown Breaks, which came out a little while ago and is unfortunately no longer for sale. I'm not really going to go into that too much, but yeah, I managed to grab it while it was on sale, and there's some really tasty stuff in there, including this particular variation of the Amen break. So I'm just going to play that and get cracking. So yeah, nice tasty Amen break there. I'm going to be doing some stuff with that. So I thought it'd just be interesting just to have that break chunk there. And I'm going to show what I tend to do when I'm actually putting together more sort of jungly breaks. So interestingly, when I started writing music with Reason in like 2002 or 3 or whenever it was, I never really considered how actual breakbeat tunes were put together. Like, I just assumed people used Dr. X or some variant of Recycle or what have you. So I assumed it was mostly kind of MIDI based stuff and lots of slice stuff. Whereas more recently, I've realized that just keeping the audio intact and just kind of slicing it into chunks and then kind of working with those chunks actually lends itself to it's more conducive to a kind of breakbeaty kind of loose feel, while you kind of preserve the groove of the breakbeat. So I'm just going to chop this into quarter bar chunks really. So here we go, I'm just going to chop that up. So I've got all these nice chunks ready to go. I'm going to be doing this a few times because I'm going to be using a few breaks throughout the course of this stream. So we've got this chopped up Amen break here. So I'm going to create another audio track, which that's kind of my scratch. That's sort of my scratch pad for my original Amen break. I'm just going to be dragging slicers over and playing around with them here. So I might zoom in a little more just so I have a bit more control. So I've got kind of a rough idea for a groove in my head, but I'll just kind of drag everything over. I'm just going to turn this down so it doesn't blast my ears off. So you can kind of see which part corresponds to which part of the actual loop itself, just kind of looking at the transients. So you can tell that's going to be a kick, that's going to be a snare, that's going to be a little roll followed by a snare. So you can just kind of tell from looking, well, I can tell from looking at this particular, all these slices, kind of what corresponds to what. So I'm just kind of thinking maybe if we just start, I'm going to mute that and just, so I'm thinking maybe have two kicks, not two snares. So I'm just going to repeat that twice. Then have the snare. Maybe another snare. So that's, I'm just going to. So yeah, let's just have that. I find it helps if you unmute the correct track. So that's a good start, I think. Because I don't really want that extra kick there, I don't think. So let's just let that roll. So. And I want that kind of crash at the end as well. So I'm thinking like another little snare at the end as well. Yeah, so that's kind of a nice groove. So that's a good start. We're already kind of off to a good start here. We want a nice kind of jungle track, so we want a nice rolling Amen break. So I'm gonna get rid of my original kind of scratch track there. Call this one Amen, and just kind of let's move on and see what we can layer it up with. So I'm sort of thinking it might be worth adding an actual redrum with some drum hits just to kind of augment the kicks, because while it's kind of cool to have just the rolling percussion, like the rolling amen break in there, I think we're going to need some something to kind of anchor the rhythm when I actually add sub bass to it, which is definitely going to happen. So I'm just going to pop over here and I'm going to go to my Evolve 3 folder, go into the kicks, and just I want a kick that's not too over the top. So I'm thinking that will probably do, actually. It just kind of sticks there. Basketball said, can you keep the original in the project file for us to download? To be honest with you, I'd rather not, because it's not really mine to share. So like, I don't own the, like, obviously I don't own the original Amen break. I'll put the modified one in there, but I'd feel more iffy kind of sharing stuff that was sold as is. So I'm not going to be including the original Amen break in there. But having said that, you can find the Amen break all over the place. So I would like to, but in this instance, I'm afraid that's a no-go. But yeah, sorry about that. So I haven't actually added any inserts to the drums this time. I'm just going to add some simple kicks, just to kind of augment the... Yeah, I think I'm just going to leave those 2 kicks there. Dravet said, meanwhile, I'm considering streaming a track I'm making with stems that's going to get me held down and beat with sacks of pennies by Zappa and Roger. Yeah, that's actually an interesting point. This is going to be interesting when I eventually stick this on YouTube, whether people would take issue with that. Again, I mean, I feel like, kind of morally speaking, it doesn't, nobody really cares. The aim and break is everywhere, but it's just one of those things. I don't want to kind of chance it. So just asking, you don't get anywhere without trying. Yeah. So I'm also gonna augment the snare, but I feel like I don't want to do that too much. I just kind of want it to sit a bit more in the background. So I'm just going to dip into the snare folder, and I reckon if I turn that right down, that might sit quite nicely. I'm also going to add some rides over this at some point as well. So that's pretty straightforward. So let's just copy that over again. Travis said, I expect YouTube to dislike this one. Yeah, me too. But to be fair, I've uploaded some jungly stuff in the past. Like I uploaded a track called Beached, which was a tracker tune. It didn't seem to have any problems with that. So it'll be very interesting to see whether it decides to have a problem with this. Thank you for following Fire at Sunset. Thank you for following. So that sounds a little weird at the moment, but I feel like once I actually start messing around with this and kind of get everything in context, it might make a bit more sense. So I'm going to add a ride symbol of some sort. I'm not entirely sure how good this will be for... Yeah, none of those are really grabbing me. So I'm going to go into the drum supply folder and go into the cymbals. And here's a bunch of rides. So this will be interesting. That could work, a nice 909. I might come back to that one. This is a very technical approach of just clicking through and seeing which ones fit. I might try that, or I might... Let's have a little look. Right. I quite like that one. I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to turn that down a bit and again reduce the length. It's got like a nice Nice little ride. So I'm just going to really, really simply just drag in. I'm just going to copy and paste that endlessly. And there we go. That's that'll be the ride. Jared says, keep scrolling by the 909 samples like you'd ever consider using anything else. See, now you've said that, I kind of feel like I owe it to myself to... I mean, that does sound pretty good. That does sound pretty good. You know what? I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that. So that's just kind of augmenting the amen break there. So something I really wanted to try, actually I'm just going to give this a name, something I wanted to try out was processing this break with Beatformer. So if you've not seen me use this before, this is Beatformer by Acusonus, and it's basically kind of a very simple toolbox for messing around with loops, basically drum loops. And it's like, I picked this up as part of a bundle, fully expecting not to really use it a whole lot. And I've actually used it loads since I picked it up. It's actually just really, like, it's very, very straightforward, but it tends to just sound good. So I'm thinking I'm just going to play the track and mess around with this and see what pops out. So here we go. Kind of like that. Busker Bills has said secret sauce on the kick. I'm not going to be adding disperser this time because I feel like I think in any other track it'd be really cool to add that extra kind of thwack to the kick, but I think in this instance I kind of want it to remain a little more neutral, just kind of a little more spiky. But I might change my mind, so I will come back to that. So anyway, for now I am going to, I think let's start playing around with some more loops. So just before this stream started, I did actually go into the factory sound bank and into the drum loops and into the drum and bass folder, and that's exactly where I'm going again, because there's some really good kind of old school kind of stuff in here. Whereas I feel like the loop supply drum and bass stuff is good, but it's not really the kind of vibe that I'm going for, and I'll demonstrate why in a second. Well, that's going in. So, right. So, I've just dragged this in as audio because I'm going to be doing exactly the same thing as I did with the amen break. I'm going to be chopping it up into quarter notes and then just kind of messing around with what I've got there, basically. So, let's chop it up into quarter notes. I probably won't need the second half of this particular break. I think we've got enough going on there. So, I'm basically just going to kind of rearrange that so that it matches the amen break pattern, basically. So I'm going to create a duplicate of that track again and just get rid of those slices, and that's going to be kind of my work area. So I'm going to just copy and turn that down so it's more kind of in line with the amen break. Yeah, so the problem is I'm less familiar with this than I am the amen break, so, but it kind of follows the same sort of pattern. Actually, I kind of like that. And I want those congas that were at the end, because I think that'll sound really cool. Yeah, it's not quite working. That's cool, right. Blue said, imagine having to do this chopping back in the day of an Akai sampler. It's really interesting you say that, actually, because I was very tempted to bounce all of these individual slices to individual samples and try using the NN19 or NNXT to manually draw in the notes. And then I decided against it because, frankly, I cannot be bothered. So I'm not that much of a purist, but I was definitely tempted. But one thing I would like to do with this particular break is I'd like to stick it through the RX 950 and just reduce the audio bandwidth to about, like, I don't know, 12K-ish, because I feel like that would give it kind of a nice bit of crunch. So that's with. Might lower it a little more. In fact, this is making me think it might be worth, I'm just going to add an instance of the Eve MP5 to the Amen break. I'm just going to attenuate the highs kind of around 20K. Maybe give 12K a bit of a boost here as well. I feel like, actually that might be a bit much. I'm just going to bring that down. Oops, that's not what I meant to do. Let's bring that down to about 2. So I've just rolled off the subs on that particular break channel there. So just to compare, this is the original break from the factory sound bank. And this is what it is after chopping it. So that's kind of neat. So that's added a nice bit of kind of nice kind of air to it. So I'm going to add another instance of Beatformer and just kind of mess around with that again, because I really like what it did with the Amen break. Just kind of made it sound a bit more choppy. So I'm just going to play everything in situ. I'm going to get rid of that particular track, actually, because I feel like I've got enough going on here. So I'm just going to call this FSB break. Why not? And I'm going to rename that to drums. And just play around with Beatformer and see what pops out. Going to leave that as it is. I think there's enough going on there. So right. So actually, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring all of this stuff over into a block. I feel like that'd be a good way to work. And I'm going to have like a nice 8-bar block going on here. And so earlier on, I mentioned that Trevor said once it gets some melodic elements in, we can start trying to time the snort. Time the snort. Phrases I didn't think I'd be coining this year, but there we go. Gonna have to start getting some bass in soon. Oh, believe me, I will. And so earlier today, I actually mentioned to a friend of mine that I was thinking of doing something jungly today, and he said, "Have you checked out this particular sample bank?" And I was like, "No, I haven't checked this out." So it's a freebie from Blu Mar Ten, and I will pop a link to this in the chat because there's some really good stuff in there. So just pop that in there. And it's full of really good stuff. So I thought it'd be kind of nice to get a breakbeat from here. So I'm pretty sure there's some Amen breaks in here. To be honest, I haven't really gone through this stuff properly. I just kind of copied and pasted it. So it's none of this is tempo synced or anything like that. I've just kind of dropped it in and we'll see what's in here. So I'd be surprised if there weren't loads and loads of Amen breaks in here. In fact, yeah, there we go. So yeah, there's some really good stuff in this particular library. So it's, like I said, it's a freebie. It's over on the Blu Mar Ten website, and it's full of really good stuff. So I figured that'd be kind of a good tool set to play around with today. So I'm just gonna. I was thinking something crispy would be kind of nice. So I'm just gonna add that particular break here and just move that out the way. And I'm gonna stretch that so it's in time with the track. Quantize it so that everything's kind of on the beat, and just again do the same as I've done before. So I'm just going to be just slicing that up into quarter notes, and then I'll be creating a new percussion line out of that. So I'm just going to duplicate that, get rid of that. So that's kind of my scratch scratch pad that I'm going to be working from. So if we listen to it now, this is going to sound really all over the place. The snares and kicks aren't going to match at all. But I think with a little bit of rearranging, that would be kind of nice. Although, just thinking. I'm not going to mess around with that just yet. So I'm going to mute that and do the exact same thing I've done before. So just... Actually, I think I'll vary things with the snares. And let's see how that goes. It'd be nice to play around with that. I think there's some more stuff in there that would be... I mean, that is pretty straightforward. So, Actually, I might just have those kind of congas play every other. I'm just going to vary this up a little bit. Yeah, so just some slight variations there. Yeah, that doesn't quite work for me, so might replace that with a kick or something. Yeah, it works. So I'm going to do the same over here as well and just copy and paste that. So it's going to seem really obvious that, you know, this is, like, as far as I'm concerned, this is a really intuitive way of working with breakbeats to kind of create that sort of rolling percussion that's typified by jungle and breaks and that kind of thing. But like I said, nobody had really showed me how to work like this. I just expected to work with slicers, you know, using Dr. X and that kind of thing. Whereas for this particular kind of music, I think it's much more intuitive to work with entire chunks of audio, rather like just slice it up like this, so, and kind of drag it into position, rather than working with individual slices, because you're kind of... it just kind of has more of a natural roll to it, if that makes any sense. Try it for yourself. It's kind of hard to describe why it works so much better for me personally, but I'm sure if you kind of mess around with it yourself, you'll very quickly realize, oh yeah, this is kind of like, it's an obvious thing in retrospect. Yeah, anyway, so I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to add an instance of beat former because that's worked quite nicely before. So I'm just going to call that break 2. Just call it break 2. Why not? And I'm going to add an instance of beat former because it's worked well so far, so I'm just going to kind of stick with it. Just going to whack that in and go with it. Like, I think for this one, I'm just going to reduce the squash. So this is really interesting. I'm just going to solo this channel so you can hear what it's actually doing. So this is with the squash kind of brought down. And this is with it disabled. So it's kind of like a sort of, it's like an expander or gate kind of effect just with one control. And I actually find it quite nice to work with just because you can't really mess around with it too much. It either works or it doesn't. And I think that's kind of neat. So I'm just going to have a look at the levels here. I think that's all right. So, right. So, as Buskin Bill said, it's about time we brought in some bass. So, I'm going to do exactly that. So, I'm just going to fold some of these up. That's going to be my drum column. I'm going to create an instance of old favorite subtractor. And this is going to be called subbass. Oops. Pesky coaster getting stuck to my glass. Right, so subbass. So this is going to be very simple. Just going to set this to a sine wave. I'm going to bring the octave down to about 2, and this should sound kind of ridiculous as it is. Okay, it's not particularly ridiculous. It's very quiet at the moment. So I'm just going to turn that up. Ooh, yes. And I'm going to bring the polyphony down to 1 because we don't need more than one sub-bass note playing at a time. So I'm on headphones, so I don't really feel like I can get the full extent of the low end there. But one thing I do want to do is I'm going to add an instance of the soft tube saturation knob just to kind of richen up, sort of add some higher harmonics to the sub note, so that if you're not listening on a system with perhaps a ridiculously good sub or something like that, you can still kind of get a little bit of the sort of tickle in the low mids and highs. So I'm just going to bring that right up, and actually I'm going to let's pop it about there. I'm going to bring this down because the saturation knob does make things louder. So there we go. So for now, I'm just going to add a couple of, just a couple of sub notes on those individual kicks, really. So I believe that was... Buskin Bill's informed me that it's working on the TV. Excellent. Always saturate that 808. That is excellent advice. Words to live by. I must admit, I have kind of a love-hate thing with the saturation knob. Like, in certain instances, I think, in this particular instance, I think it's great. It serves its purpose magnificently. But in a lot of other instances, I feel like it doesn't really saturate the sound in a particularly pleasing way a lot of the time. It's very kind of just I feel like it's either it's just weird. It's weird. I'm just gonna stop waffling on about it. But it's good, but weird. Right. So I think it's about time we added a pad. So in fact, I'm going to add the bass to the drum section. Let's have the drum and bass all together. I feel like that's appropriate. So I'm going to do something that I've done a few times before and create an instance of grain for the pads. So I'm just going to call this pads, or just pad. Why pads? And I'm going to bring in a sample from the factory sound bank. So there's this folder I particularly love called the chords, phrases, pads, stabs. And this is great fodder for sort of sampled chords and that kind of thing, which is perfect for what I'm going to be doing in a second. So that's kind of nice. Exactly. The loon may make an appearance yet. So that's kind of perfect, really. So I'm just going to go over here. I'm just going to set the start to a little further in, set the loop to forward, backwards. So, and also set the root note to the detected root note. So that's nice. Let's adjust the attack and release. I'm going to mess with the jitter so it has a smoother sound. Maybe slow it down a little bit. So it's sounding a little grainy at the moment. Travis said yesterday it's on loop I just used, and I got worried for a second. I've got to know what it is now. So it's a little kind of grainy at the moment, but I feel like, I mean, it's bound to happen. I'm using grain. So I'm going to add some reverb just to kind of smooth that over a little bit. Let's have the DR1. And what was that Rhodes that you clicked on? Oh, that was up here, I believe. What was it? I mean, in any case, this is like, it's, as far as I'm concerned, that's like a secret treasure trove of awesome samples that you can play around with. Dust Rhodes. Oh, that's really funny. I've used that a few times myself. Dust Rhodes. I mean, they're really nice samples. They're just nice. So I really like that kind of sampled chord memory kind of thing, and it's very kind of, it lends itself well to this particular era of music production where, you know, people were using kind of rave chords and chord memory and just sampled chords in general. So I figured it was sort of appropriate. So I'm just going to smooth that over with the DR1 a bit. I'm going to add a bit of delay as well, just because that'd be quite nice. In fact, I'm just going to crank up that particular instrument, so I've got plenty going in. In fact, that might be just fine. So I'm just gonna go to the sequencer and draw in some notes. So I'm just thinking. So there we go. That's nice. And you know, once I start messing around with filtering this and all that kind of thing, so it was F sharp, C sharp, yeah, it was E, and then B. So. It might actually be worth just extending this particular block out and just bringing that last note up an octave just for a little bit of variation. Buskin Bills has said sounding a bit 808 state. That's awesome. So I've definitely got to put the loon in, is what you're saying. Yep, excellent. It does fit. Oh, I love it. I love it. It's one thing I always have such fun when I'm writing kind of more jungly stuff. It's just something about it. It's just very conducive to fun. I love it. So I'm thinking it might be really nice to add an instance of cassette just to kind of make things a bit gritty. Although I want. So I'm gonna start using I am gonna use the filter at some point. So I'm thinking. I'm going to do something odd here, and I'm going to explain my thinking in a second. So I'm just going to disconnect those, and just keep the cassette as an insert. And I'm going to bring these down and have the grain go into these separately before they hit the insert section. And I will explain my thinking why in just a second. So basically I want the cassette to be affected by the reverb and the echo signals, but I also want the cassette to process I want it to process the sound post filter, because I'm going to add some hiss, and I don't want the hiss to get filtered once I start closing the filter. So that's kind of my thinking. So at the moment, if we look at the mixer, your options are you can have the inserts pre the actual SSL EQ section, dynamics and EQ section, or you can have it post, which is fair enough. But if you want some of the inserts to be if you want to use some of the inserts before it hits the SSL and some after, then you kind of have to do a bit of jiggery pokery like I've just done. So yeah, so basically this is a very long-winded way of saying, I mean, I could have just stuck the cassette at the end there. and it probably wouldn't have made a huge amount of difference. But anyway, this, in my mind, there was some method to my madness. But anyway, I'm just going to go to cassette, and if you've not used this before, this is a wonderful plugin for making things sound like crap. I mean that in the nicest possible way. So it's great for just kind of adding noise. I'm just going to solo that pad and just play it with cassette on. So I might turn the noise down a bit. So you can tell it's kind of got some noise and some grit in there, and I really like that. So in theory, if I were to leave the noise, so noise auto mute is on, so you might be able to hear some kind of hiss and pop in the back, or some hissing in the background. So if I close the filter now, the cassette shouldn't be affected by that, which is exactly what I want. So I'm just going to leave auto mute on. I'm just going to crank up the wow and flutter because I want those. I want it to sound kind of degraded. So I'm just rolling off the lows, the sort of sub frequencies on this particular channel. There shouldn't really be anything going on down there, but anyway, Drabbit said, as a lo-fi guy who deals with this a bunch, I separate all my hiss, pops, etc. to their own channel and only use the harmonics and stuff from tape saturators, etc. Otherwise, repeated instances build up the white noise. That's actually a really good point. I mean, I'm not going to be using that much sort of degradation, tape saturation stuff on this track, but that's actually a really good point and not something I would have considered myself, although I might be adding some noise later on. I've got kind of an idea of where I want the track to start once I actually start arranging it, so... I'm not entirely sure if that second breakbeat, like the snare is a little too snappy, but I'm going to leave that for now. So I mentioned a little while ago that I was thinking of adding the monotone. I feel like its time has kind of come, so let's add the monotone. I feel like I want to vary things up a bit and use a sine wave just in kind of high, like a higher register. So I'm going to turn the octave up and hello. So there we go. And just that'll do. I just want something simple that I can kind of play around with. I'm planning on adding some reverb and a bit of delay to it. So let's have a bit of reverb, not too much, and a bit of delay. So I'm going to use the echo for that. So let's just do that. Actually, I'm just going to play this and have a think. Love it, Drabbit. Adam could channel Tycho in an instant if you give him one oscillator. That's brilliant. I love that. I feel like I'm gonna have to use that as like some kind of blurb on my site. So my thinking is I'm basically gonna try and follow the so yeah, I'm gonna try and follow the chords. That sounds quite nice, actually. So yeah, I'm gonna try and follow roughly the chords. So just now you're probably thinking, why are you drawing chords? You're using the monotone, and that's because I'm going to be using it as an ARP very soon. So I'm just going to copy and paste that, and again, just because all the chords they stay the same, I'm just going to copy and paste everything around, and hopefully that should give me something to play around with when I do bring in an actual ARP. So I am going to bring in an instance of the dual arpeggio. And I'm thinking it might be nice to draw in a pattern here and play around with it. So let's have the pattern on and just have think I'll do. let's go with 2 octaves and set the steps to encompass all of that. So let's just have a play. Oh yeah, that's way too quick and sounds really stupid. So I think I'm going to reverse the direction, just see how that pops out. So we've got some comments. I did it in the isotope freebie and have the level down so long you don't see it on the. I feel like I've lost track of what's going on in the chat. Oh, the isotope vinyl. I haven't used that in ages. I remember really liking it, and then by the time they introduced VSTs to Reason, I used it and I was like, I wasn't really feeling it. Although I have used it in a couple of production tunes. Excellent track suggestion in the excellent title suggestion in the chat from Clobbermutt. I feel like I'm fighting lava giants. I'm facing worlds. So yeah, some nice Unreal Tournament references there. Track title: Lava Giants facing giants. I don't think anyone's going to beat that. Yeah, sorry guys, you've been beat. Yeah, I can definitely see that reference with the ARP going on there. Basketball said, "Man, we're on track titles already." I mean, I hadn't suggested it, so that's excellent. I mean, I'm always happy when I see Unreal Tournament references in the chat, or just in general. It's always great to see them in the wild. So that's kind of nice. We've got a nice groove going here, and I'm gonna add. I think we need some extra, just some extra kind of hooks, basically. I mean, I'm happy to just kind of basically repeat a lot of what I'm doing at the moment and kind of add variations as we go, because I feel like a lot about jungle is just letting the groove kind of do its thing. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the Blu Mar Ten library again. You may have noticed I've created an uncategorized folder in my sample library now, so I can stick stuff in there that I have yet to categorize, and I fully intend to do some stuff with this. I'm just thinking, I want something really, I feel like some something sort of vocally, but maybe not vocals. Oh, that's going to be excellent. I'm totally using that. Right, okay. Let's just pop this in, and I'm going to just drown that in delay in a second. Actually, I'm going to have that there. Really need to turn that down because that's way too loud at the moment. I'm just going to add a whole load of delay to that. I think that's going to be awesome. Oh. Now it's just looking at my patch library for some reason. Thank you. So, let's just completely drown that in delay. And... oh, that's great. That's great. I'm leaving that. It's a little loud now. That's great, right? Actually, I might reduce. Yeah. Did I prefer it how it was before? Some interesting talk on noise units, like noise VSTs. I always find the concept of anything that adds noise to a recording in the software world particularly interesting. It's the idea that you would purposefully go out of your way to add noise and grit. I mean, it's no different from adding distortion or any other creative effect. I just find it fascinating that we've reached a stage now where people want to purposefully add the sound of noise that people were trying to avoid, you know, a decade or two ago. And I just find it fascinating. It's wonderful to me. And I have kind of a soft spot for the sound of like cassette tape in general, just because I quite like it. Like people kind of associate it with, you know, not sounding particularly pristine, but I just quite like it. I like it when it's controlled and used in an interesting way. Which is why I was really happy when Waves Factory released that cassette plugin that I was using. So I'm gonna leave that. I think that's kind of neat. Again, I'm mixing on headphones here, so this is actually a particularly interesting exercise for me, because this is kind of I would say it's a genre that's really not particularly well suited to mixing on headphones. So I'd be interesting to come back to this later on. So that's kind of cool. I feel like I want some kind of like texture to go along with that. So I'm going to dive into the same sample library and go into vocals.
Your name's not down. You're not. Step.
Oh, that could work really nicely. I reckon if I just bring that in and kind of just stretch it out, really. Yeah, just kind of have that fade in, maybe fade out a little bit at the end. Just add a load of reverb, I think. So, in fact, I'm not entirely convinced that's in key, but let's... What I might do is, because I don't want to stretch that because it just kind of overwhelms everything as it is. I'm going to add some liberal reverb to it and some delay, because of course. Yes, I feel like if I kind of stretch that and maybe just pop that there as well and crossfade those two. Actually, I'm gonna do this the old-fashioned way, just join them and crossfade them in the comp edit view. It's what I'm used to. So So actually I might bring that over to the right a bit. Basketball said, what pack are your vocals from? So this is from the same Blu Mar Ten sample bank that I mentioned earlier on. So I'll just paste that back into the chat in case you missed it. It's just a great source for these kind of samples, and I'm really chuffed that required very little effort on my part. It was like, it sounds in key to me. Realised I had the echo on 100% dry wet for ages and didn't realise. Whoops. Okay, so let's turn on the filter. Let's have a bit of diffusion just to kind of spread it out a bit, and a bit of ping pong there. So that should sound interesting. Well, so far, I'm very happy with that as a block. So I'm going to copy that and paste it into block 2, because I feel like it'd be good to have a block with a slightly more complex, like some more kicks and some more sub-bass notes. So that's what I'm going to do. So I've got a very clear idea in my mind of what I want to do. So basically I want to have the sub bass kind of come in and be like sort of dum 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 dum. So I'm just kind of drawing in some kicks so I know where to place those sub notes in a second. Yeah, that'll do. So I'm gonna copy and paste that just all over the shop, and let's do it. So I'm just going to copy and paste that basically because I think that's kind of cool. Some really interesting chat going on at the moment about people using external gear to kind of introduce a lo-fi sound. Some talk of Drabbit's using the MPs. Well, he's using kind of similar settings to mimic the sound of other machines, which is super interesting. And Clovmut's kind of mentioned that he's been using a Tascam Porter Studio, Tascam 4414, which is super interesting. As I'm sure many of you are aware, like I'm very much a in the box kind of guy, although I kind of branch out with regard to some stuff, like a bit of a hybrid approach. So I like to keep everything in software as much as possible. I'm very much in the box, but I do like to bring external gear into the equation if I can kind of get it set up with my familiar environment, if that makes any sense. That's why I like using the analog heat, because you can just use it as a plugin using Overbridge, which is super interesting. Mitch Moody said super excited for my Suite upgrade and Friction purchase tomorrow. Oh, nice. I can pretty much guarantee you'll like Friction. It's a really fun instrument, really expressive. Mitch actually asked me earlier on today on Twitter whether I was going to be showing off Friction today, and like that would have been a perfect opportunity, but I feel like it doesn't really fit the feel of this track, and also I've forgotten to reinstall it anyway. So yeah, Drabbit said Reason 11 has been my favorite upgrade so far. That's really interesting. Just having a little breather here. So I've really liked Reason 11. I must admit, when I first picked it up, I thought I was slightly underwhelmed, to be honest. But after using it a little while and seeing how it improved my workflow, I really like it. Like in terms of what they've, especially how much stuff they've added after the fact, has been really good. So that's, and I keep saying, like, the stuff I would like to see in Reason is, as Monkey Plus Plus has said, you know, quality of life upgrades. And that's, you know, like workflow improvements, quality of life upgrades. That's the kind of stuff I would like to see more of. So it's, and you know, we got those, and immediately I was like, I'm not super into this. So I think that kind of says more about me as a person than anyone else. So there's something about it's that particular snare there I'm not super into, with the sub going on as well, so I might just take that out. Actually, I'm gonna leave that for now. I think I'm overthinking that. Busky says, thanks for samples, free download, no registration. You're very welcome, but I feel like I'm just passing on the samples. You know, I didn't curate it, but they're really good. Yeah, the Blu Mar Ten stuff is good. I feel like it's really interesting going through it just kind of as like an educational exercise as well. There's some really interesting stuff in there, but I need to properly go through it and organize it at some point. But yeah, I'm just going to rename some of these lanes because it's slightly annoying me. Right, I'm going to stop messing around with that, and I feel like I'm going to go here. I've spent like an hour working on this, and if we go to the actual arrangement section of the sequencer, there is nothing here. It's slightly disheartening when you look at it like that. But so I've got like a rough idea of how I want the track to start, and I'm curious as to whether it'll actually work. So I'm just going to start muting a load of stuff, and I basically just want those two breaks to come in with the pad, basically. And I just want the first note. In fact, I might have that just twice. So that's kind of where I want to lead it. So right, this will either sound terrible or it might work. So I've just forgotten to move all that stuff. So I'm going to go into my sample library again. So people are talking about adding vinyl noise and lo-fi sounds to stuff, and I'm going to add some vinyl noise to the start of this very track. So I'm going to just go in here, grab some. That'll be nice. Let's just have a vinyl noise channel. So basically, my thinking is we can add a filter to what's going on here already, like on the drums and stuff, and then after a couple of measures, just open up the filter completely, have the drums come in with the pad and some of the bass, and drop the vinyl noise, and I think that'll be kind of interesting. So. So because this is just going to be a short thing, and I might want to use the low pass filter and high pass filter at another time, I'm going to use an instance of the channel EQ box here, so I can just use the low pass filter and high pass filter, set those like around there. Let's just have a listen. So that's kind of interesting. So let's try that here as well. So I'm going to automate those values. I'm going to automate the on buttons and have those on at the start of the track, and then just turn off once we bring in more elements. So let's just try that. Oh yeah, I forgot that I still had this soloed. So let's turn that off. So I might also have a high pass filter on the pad as well, just to kind of. Actually, I might just, might just lower the low pass filter on that pad. Continuing to mute some of those. Not quite there, I don't think. Escode1 says, hello music makers. Hello, good to see you. So we're at the point now where I've got a couple of really solid blocks, I think, that I can play around with. I just need to make them work, basically. So what I might do is just take some of these filters back, before before everything comes in. So, maybe not all of it. One thing I definitely want to add is those kicks, but I might not have the snare coming immediately. So I'm going to automate the mute on the snare on that redrum channel, and maybe bring that in later. But I feel like without the kick, then that the sub just sounds a bit weird. Buskin Bill says then vinyl pops are too loud. It's fine. They're only going to be there for like 22 bars. It's fine. Actually, no, 8 bars. There we go. It's fine. It's fine. I'll probably come back to it tomorrow and be like, nah. Actually, yeah, I think I'm just going to open those filters up completely there. Maybe just on one of those loops. Yeah. So I might introduce the snare there as well. I'm such a dumbass. Right, let's actually have a complete block there. Right. So I think in the next section it'd be cool to bring in the amen break. Damn it, I forgot I had loop on. I still don't want all of those pads to play yet. Yeah, I like where this is going. I still haven't added the loon. That's definitely got to go in there later. Right. So I want to filter in that ARP over the course of that particular section. So I've kind of got a rough idea of where I want to go with this track. I really don't want to overthink the arrangement. So it's Cloven up, this track is so sick. It's only got 6 months left to live. That's amazing. That has properly tickled me. So yeah, I really don't want to overthink the arrangement of this track, because I used to kind of have this mindset when I first started writing music. Actually, I want that there. That, you know, you needed to keep varying things to maintain listeners' interest, and to kind of keep things going steadily and repeating stuff was just kind of lazy songwriting, essentially. And in retrospect, that's a really stupid approach. And, you know, I used to find it incredibly difficult to write drum and bass or anything fast-paced, because I was constantly trying to vary things. And I didn't realize, you know, until years later, that you just need to let the groove kind of do its thing, just let it roll. And that's what I'm going to be doing here. So I'm not going to be overcomplicating things. In fact, it'd be kind of nice if I could stick with most of the elements I've got here already, because I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So I've got 10 channels. That's kind of quite a bit to play with. I'll probably throw the loon in there. This track is so sick. The Avengers just showed up to say hi. This track is so sick. The American government is ignoring it and sweeping the data under the rug. Oh, it's sad because it's true. Oh, brilliant. Never change, guys, never change. This track is so sick, the military just pulled up to make sure it stay in lockdown. Oh, I love it. I love it. I need to work on that. Like, I just want to mute a couple of those breaks. So it's just a little bit of a thing there. I might keep that. Actually, I might. Let's stick with the original plan. Just mute that entire section there. So I think that would sound really satisfying with the amen break coming in. I'm going to filter in that particular vocal part as well. I'm not sold on that. I've done something very silly here. No, that is on. Right, I'm just thinking I do want that ARP to kind of fade in a little more slowly. Actually, I do want to have those pads come in. So I'm thinking I might actually have that ARP come in a little more slowly. I'm going to automate the filter frequency, or maybe something else on. There's one thing I do want to change actually in block 2. So we've got this sub bass, but I feel like that second bass note is getting a bit lost. So I'm going to reduce the decay on the sub just for that one note. So let's have a listen to that. Cool, right. going to listen to this from the beginning and see how it goes. I feel like there's a bit too much distortion on that pad, so I'm going to bring down the master volume and... Nice. See, now I'm thinking there's not enough. So I'm just going to leave it how it was. I think that's something I might come back to. Oh, nice. That was some nicely timed nasal rising there. I'm thinking I might... yeah, let's have the lower pad there. I think that'll work. Actually, I might not bring the ride in just yet. I might bring it in the next section. Let's have that. I think we could do with having just that block play again for a bit. And maybe... yeah, let's have the pad properly come in there. Yes, save reminder. Yes, that's what that sound means. I was like, what's that sound mean? So, yes. So I just had a good question from Buskin Bills in the chat. So are we headed for 8 minutes of club length or 3 minutes of radio edit? I'd like to think somewhere in the middle. I don't want to overdo it. Like, I don't want to overthink this one. But I'm sort of thinking, like, I feel like, oddly enough, I feel like the arrangement of this could be kind of nice and symmetrical. So I'm thinking we're sort of getting to the point now where it might be kind of nice just to wind things down, to be honest. But I reckon I could get to about 4 minutes, probably 3, somewhere between 3 and 4 minutes. So yeah, sorry guys, probably not the 8 minutes, but it will probably be around 4 minutes. I just feel like I don't really have enough ideas at the moment to kind of keep it going for that length of time. Certainly not something I could write in the duration of a music making stream, but we'll see. So I'm just gonna play what I've got so far, and I need to put that loon in. So let's get that sample primed. Just gonna go to factory sounds and other samples. Is it FX Vox? I believe it is. Oh yeah. So let's pop that in somewhere. I mean, that would be kind of a good place for it. I just want it to be a little more in the mix. Dravit said, like I'm mad, it's CDM, just give us 32 bars of the same drum beat. I mean, I kind of have already. So we'll see. Stick a massive ambient bit in the middle. That's not a bad idea. I'll tell you what. I'll get like a rough arrangement, and then see if I can embellish it with some other stuff. Oh no, I can't have it in the same place as... Let's put it in the second half of this block. So that'd be... So... Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Alright. Let's drive that. Okay. Second, I feel like I need to... This needs to take pride of place. What's the most neon violet? There we go. Champion Vox. I'm sorry, you're not the loon. The loon has its own spot there. Over on the right. Lovely. I sort of feel like it'd be good to have like a closed hat, kind of like a sort of just to kind of accent the ride there. Not too in your face, just kind of there really. So I'm going to go to the Evolve Free folder and just go to hi-hats. Just something that will do. Right, so in fact I might just pop this in the block just so I can keep as much stuff in here as possible. Because I'm weird like that and I just want to keep it all together. So not too obvious, but just kind of there. In fact, I might change that sample. Beard shaker. It has been a while. Basketball said get a beat map on the hat. I'm thinking I just want something really steady. I feel like that would be kind of conducive to the feel of what I'm going for. But I mean, I need to find the right hat first. So. It just feels a bit too obvious at the moment, like it's... Well, anyway, I'm going to put it in both the blocks and mute where I'm not actually using it in the tune yet, so I can just bring it in there. I'm just going to hear it in context. some interesting comments in the chat. Kloppenmar said, "Oh shit, just realised there's no beat map in this stream." Yes, there is no beat map in this stream, which I think maybe is it a first? I can't remember. I must have manually programmed all the drums in a previous stream this year, but maybe I haven't. Adam, are you feeling okay? I don't know. I feel maybe I'm coming down with lack of beat map-itis. It's got to be a punchier name for that. So yeah, so I'm just thinking. Yeah, let's have the loon over here as well. Actually, no, I don't. I think maybe bring that in later. So liquid MDMA in the glass. Yeah, I'm getting myself in the EDM mindset. Oh my god, I just did it to myself. The loon played and I had a look at the chat to see who posted it, and I was like, I can't see it. Oh, it's right there. It's that giant purple thing that just played. So we need some knob action this week, so I'm sure this is referring to the Surface Star. So actually, that's Travis just mentioned that the RX 950 has a filter knob. WTF have I been doing? So yeah, it does. It's really, really cool. And I could, if it's working today. Oh no, I think I might have wakey. Nope. I think I've closed the software that actually controls it, so I'm just not gonna use it today. Oh, that's a shame. Sometimes it closes when my computer goes on standby, and I had it on standby before I started doing this stream, and I forgot to restart it, so that's kind of a bummer. Next time I'll turn it on. It's kind of obtrusive, so I'm not gonna, like when you start up, it just has a full screen thing that says this is starting up, so I'm probably not gonna use it today. But yeah, next time. But anyway, it does have a filter on it. That's the wrong one. I find it helps if you're using the right brake. That's actually pretty cool. I might bring that in. Oh, that's not what I meant to do at all. Right. Let's just cheat. Right. I like that. I'm not digging into the chat. There's a whole thing going on in there. To fade out quite yet. So I'm basically just kind of winding things down. I think once I've got like a rough arrangement, I'm going to start messing around. So yeah, Monkey Plus Plus has said, wait, is there no disperser in this track either? Nope. So yeah, some people have commented that this has come together quite quickly, and I think a lot of that is because I'm working primarily with a sample. So I'm just basically dropping stuff in and seeing if it'll work. And I kind of feel like I've sort of lucked out a bit today because a lot of it's kind of fit together quite nicely. So yeah, that's been very fortunate, especially that vocal sample. Like, I'm amazed I didn't have to do anything with that besides stretch it a bit. I need to filter that out really, so right, where did that come from? I don't even want that to be playing during this section anyway. Just keep that fade out going. Finish with the filter just completely coming in and ruining everything, right? I might mute the snare again there. No, don't do that, right. Oh, that's interesting. So even though I purposefully wanted the noise on that pad, I've set it up incorrectly, right? Right, there we go. So what I'm going to do here is there's like a little bit of hiss at the end, and I want to keep that. And so basically I'm going to go into the pad and open up cassette. And there's a button in here which is labeled noise auto mute. I'm just going to see if I can automate that to turn off. Yep. So for most of the track, I want that on. But right at the end, I want that to turn off so we get the hiss, and I can fade that out manually so it sounds a little less abrupt. Alright, so I'm just going to do it the other way around apparently. So let's have it turned on. In fact, I could just stick it in a block and then that'll do nicely. Right. Now I don't have to worry about that. So if I also put that into block 2. So this is one of the good things about blocks, is if you decide you want to change something later on down the line, like adding an automation lane or something, you can just stick it into one block and it will work just fine. So at the end, I want the auto mute to turn off. Then I can just fade that out manually. So, oh god, yeah, Clobbermut, you need to figure out something for the channel points. I've got 16,970 now, and I can't redeem them for burgers or nothing. That is an outrage. I'm sorry. I really need to get on that. I don't really know what to do with channel points, but I'll figure something out. So I'm going to have that fade out at the end. Just going to use a line mixer to fade that out manually. So I'm just going to route that from the cassette into this particular line mixer here, and I'm just going to have that fade out once that pad's played. So at the end it should be silent. We don't have any of that hiss. So let's try that. Custom emotes could be based on Reason device or something. Maybe one could be a loon bird. Oh man, that's a great idea. Actually, I want the noise to come at the start as well, so we just have that fade in. In fact, I really didn't need to use auto mute at all. I don't think that's going to fade out at any point, so it doesn't, yeah, never mind. So I'm just going to play what I've got. Some interesting talk about emotes happening in the chat right now. Monkey Plus Plus also said, I feel like this track is really going to benefit from that analog heat later in mixing. Yeah, that's a great idea, and I fully intend to try that at some point. Clodma says, also, I just looked up loon birds. I always thought there was some kind of exotic bird of paradise or something, but no, just a duck. Yeah, I must admit, I was surprised when I checked Google image search for loon birds, and I was like, oh, that is not what I imagined. So Monkey Plus Plus, the size in pixels of Reason devices is almost the size of emotes already on our high DPI monitors these days. There's actually one very particular reason why I ended up picking up, because I've got a dual monitor setup going on here, and they're both just 1080p displays, and that was kind of one reason for it, was because I figured I'm kind of safe if I just get a 1080p display. If I get a high DPI monitor, it's just not going to work. Bosco Bills redeemed the nasal riser, but I couldn't hear it, which is slightly concerning. Gotta have the nasal riser. So interestingly, I haven't sort of relied too heavily on lots of sort of tried and tested tricks this week. I am slightly thinking maybe I'm milking the end of this track in particular, but it's kind of fun. So Drabbit said, Adam, if you need help with emotes and such for the channel, the human I ride upon is a graphic designer and we can help. Excellent. That's really, really cool of you to offer, and I may hit you up for that. That's awesome. So I feel like, yeah, I'm going to save this as it is, and I still think, what was the name? Facing Giants. That was a really cool name. So I'm going to stick with that, because Facing Giants, because it's got some nice references to Unreal Tournament, and I like that. So I'm thinking it'd be cool to have like just a little drop there, and maybe bring everything back in after that. Maybe have another block 2 after that. So basically, just have an extra little section there, because I feel like at the moment it's a little imbalanced with how the ending's quite long, but we get to sort of the meat of the track, and it just ends, and it spends ages ending. So it'd be cool to have a little sort of extended bit here. So I'm going to go to block 1 for that, and block 2 here. So this is some very, very rough arrangement. So just gonna drop those breaks for sort of a few measures. Actually, I might drop that pure vocal from that section there. Let's just have the drums drop out for a little bit there, and then I can come in for another round of block 2. I think that'll be kind of cool. Sorry, I'm just catching up with the chat now. Easy for me to say. Yeah, Black Rooster plugins all have UI scaling, which makes me super happy about them. There was a Black Rooster plugin, I think, that Focusrite are giving away at the moment as part of their plugin collective thing. I just haven't checked it out yet, so I should get on that. I think it might be like another tape VST, so I should check that. Buskin Bill says, keep the Vox in the first and lose it from the second. Let's do that. Let's do that. I think that's a sensible way around, actually. Just have it. It'd be nice to have it filter out. meant the champion box. Right, okay, I'm with you. Although I kind of like... See, now I don't know which way around to go. I might filter that out a little bit, because it's a bit... I want that first pad note, I think. I feel like I want to do something with that pad. I always love it when the... oh no, it is reasonably close to the actual pad channel, so let's just bring that down. So that's going to be block 2 there. I think I might just replace one of those with that. I'm going to extend that so it covers the entirety of the ending. So we've got a nice 5.5 minutes going on here. Excellent. Right, I'm just gonna play around with this because I feel like I could do with some tweaks. I do want the pad to come back before that point, but also there's a really sort of slight note sort of dropping off there. There we go. So some interesting points in the chat. So Baskerville said filter the pad out so the Vox is popping. That's a neat idea. Oh yeah, I might do that. And I'll just bring that down a little sooner. Actually, let's have that fade out just a little earlier. Some talk about how mixing works. So Monkey Plus Plus has said, I'm fascinated by how you never automate channel volume, but it always seems to fall into place. Yeah, that's generally speaking, I don't tend to mess around with sort of volume automation or anything like that. Drabbits correctly pointed out that I'm not automating, well, and Clovermer, automating channel volume can be a bit of a pain. If you're automating the mixer channels, then I can't really change them later on because they're automated. So what I tend to do at this stage is I'll automate sort of rack devices basically. So like with the pad here, I'm using a line mixer to fade out the pad. So I can still adjust the SSL mixer level, but I've still got that fade at the end. Whereas if I'd automated just the SSL mix channel, I wouldn't be able to actually change it, which is not so great. So yeah, so I might automate stuff after the fact. What I tend to do is just get the rough track down during these sessions, and then I'll come back to it the following day, listening to it on monitors and make actual proper mix adjustments as I see fit. Because at the moment, like I said, I'm on headphones, and it's not particularly conducive to mixing stuff properly. So this could sound like utter garbage at the moment. So I sort of hope it doesn't. So I'm gonna play this because I feel like I need to just get this bit right. I just have that filter open up a little bit. Still think you can go for the full 8 minutes. I'm not going to push my luck. I think 5.5 minutes is pretty solid at the moment. I do want that pad to come back though. It just sounds weird. So I want that to start coming back sooner. So I'm going to join these clips together because they don't need to be separated, and I'll just start opening that filter up again as that progresses. I do want that to start filtering out sooner because I liked how that was. I'm automating the wrong channel. Oh god. Okay, well that's really annoying. Yeah. Man, I'm an idiot. So let's do this properly. Whoops. Oh, garbage puns. Excellent. So I definitely want that to have come back more by that point, so let's drag that automation curve. That's a Reason 11 feature that I'm super grateful for, automation curves. Realised. I'm not entirely convinced that works, but Clodmutt said, feels like maybe a bit of resonance on some of these filter sweeps could be tasty. That's an idea. Unfortunately, I'm using the SSL, but I could just use the That was a good suggestion, Buskin Bills. I like it. I like the bringing the break in just a little early there. Oh, actually, I'm not sure. Oof. Ah. Damn. Yeah, so I'm thinking with the pad, I've already got some grit on there with the cassette, so it'd be cool to use the AF4 to kind of, or I could just use the RX 950. That'd be kind of cool. Let's try that. So I'm just going to turn the audio bandwidth right up so it sounds pretty much the same as it did. But I'm going to put that just before the cassette. So yeah, let's use the RX 950 here instead, and right click on that and select Adjust Alien Clips to Lane, and there we go. The filter frequency is copied over, and I'm just going to mute that automation there. As Buskin Bills correctly points out, there is a jungle track produced by someone called Adam F. Yeah. So for ages, I'm rubbish at coming up with artist names, and for a while I was like, oh, I could just call myself Adam F. Completely oblivious to the fact that Adam F. was a reasonably famous drum and bass and jungle producer in the 90s and early noughties. So that's fun. Oh, that's cool. That was a good call. Thank you, Clobbermup, for the resonance suggestion. Circles, that's the one. I need to drop that as well. I'm not sold on that. I'm gonna leave it how it was before. I think I'm overthinking it. DJ Sniff. Yeah, if anyone wants to come up with a DJ name for me, then please do. Realised I've done it again. I've muted the wrong filter sweep. Oh man. Although I quite like that with both the filters, so... So we get the RX 950 and the SSL low pass filter, which I think they both kind of work nicely together, even though it was a complete and total accident. I think as well, I might filter in the Amen break in that section as well, using the RX 950. It is kind of becoming my quick and dirty go-to here, and I'm going to filter it in here because I feel like there's a lot coming in very suddenly, so it'd be good to just... That's good, I like that. So now I think the arrangement is a little less asymmetric now. We've got kind of the main section, we've got a little break in the middle, and then it all comes back in. And I like that. I like how that's kind of come together. So this pleases me. So I'm going to save that as it is, and I'm just going to play it from start to finish and see if anything comes together. So please let me know if you have any ideas or suggestions or anything in the chat. But I'm just going to let it play out, and I'll have a think about it. So here we go. Problem is, now that Clovermut said those filter sweeps are so good, and I'm inclined to agree. So I feel like it'd be nice to have. What am I doing? It'd be nice to have some of that resonance in the start of the track as well. So I'm gonna just add it there. feel like I need to apologize to Buskin Bills at the end there, because he pointed out that resonance might be too much. And then I added an RX 950 filter sweep at the end, which totally added a load of extra resonance to the pad. So yeah, that is a bit much at the moment. I totally agree. So I might just bring that back up a little bit. I don't think it would be as bad if I wasn't using two filters at the same time. But unfortunately, the RX 950 doesn't have a resonance control, and I'm feeling really lazy. So... Tell you what, let's do this properly. Let's use an AF4 to filter this out, because I can actually control the resonance on that. And while I do like the RX 950, yeah, it'd be nice to have some control over the resonance. I don't really want the drive to be kicking in on that though. I think that'll still sound quite buttery on this section as well. So let's give that a go. That's right, that's gonna bring up the noise. happy with that. Excellent. Right, so let's bring that forward a little bit. So that's about 5.5 minutes. I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that. So I'm probably going to leave the track there for now because I feel like I've already been messing around with it too much. But I'm really glad that I added that little sort of bit in the middle. Had a few sort of comments in the chat. I had no idea people were having to watch adverts before watching this on Twitch. That's kind of amusing. Had a question. What are your favorite mixing programs, tools, plugins at the moment? These are broadening my repertoire. So at the moment, I mean, generally I'm doing most of my stuff just using sort of built-in stuff in Reason. So as always, I'm using sort of a lot of high-pass filters and low-pass filters in here. But in terms of mixing, the MP5 is still probably my favorite kind of drag and drop and you know it's going to sound good kind of EQ. So I've used that a couple of times in this track just to kind of roll off the highs to smooth things out a bit. Excuse me. And I've used a bit of a 12K boost on the Amen break just to kind of help that pop a bit. So I'll just play that with and without so you can kind of hear the difference for yourself. So if we just play the Amen break on its own. So this is with and without. Actually, I think the RX 950 is really, I'm not big on the RX 950 there. So I might actually ditch that because it's kind of making it a bit tinny, which is fine for the most part. But actually, so thank you for asking that question because you've just made me aware of something I totally missed. So I'm just gonna have that filter in over this section here. Just like that. So I'm actually going to not get rid of that RX 950, but I really like the RX 950, but it is not by any means a mix tool. So, so yeah, let's try that again with and without. So this is with, and this is without. So it's not a huge difference, but I find the sort of 20K high attenuation is really good for kind of smoothing things out. So if you bring that in, that's obviously quite extreme, but you have it around 2. This kind of helps things to sound nice. And the 12K boost is nice as well. So, but again, I try not to be too extreme with those, especially when you're using a kind of quite rich existing loop as it is. So, Dravis said this aggression towards big crushing will not stand. I'm sorry, it just wasn't doing it for me in this instance. But yeah. I'm still a fan of bit crushing, so I'm glad that I've still got it on this factory soundbank break here. I think that works quite nicely. So in fact, I'm just going to try that with and without now. It's got me all kind of curious. What? Yeah, I really like what that's doing there, but I'm also rolling off quite a lot of the highs using the audio bandwidth knob. It's a really nice device. I do like the 950. So there we go. So cool. I am probably going to leave it there for the actual music making session. As always, if you're watching this on YouTube, check the description below and I will have links to all the project files and bouncers and exports and stuff, which I'll be uploading after this session. So yeah, there we go. Some nice jungle. And I've got to say, Facing Giants, excellent name. I'm kind of surprised. I'm really happy with how kind of smoothly that came together, and also the name suggestion was nice. I'm just going to double check this little section here actually, just because I haven't actually listened to it. So. I think that's just better with the Amen break. So cool. Yeah, right, there we go. I'm gonna leave this session here, and yeah, there we go. It's always nice to put some Loon samples dotted around the track. So yeah, I'm gonna leave the track there. Busker said get some pitch change on the breakbeat to mix things up a bit. That might be something I visit tomorrow. So as always, I'm going to be revisiting this tune tomorrow with a fresh pair of ears and maybe play with the mix a little bit. And yeah, I'll be uploading that version tomorrow, so you'll be able to check that out for yourself. And at some point during a stream, I will talk about the changes I've made to the previous few tracks. So cool. Thanks so much to everyone for joining me again tonight. I've really enjoyed working on this. I always have loads of fun when I'm working on jungle tunes. I can't really explain what it is about it, but I just have loads of fun when I'm doing it, and it's just, yeah, it's been really nice to kind of flex that particular creative muscle again. So cool. Again, thanks so much for joining me, and I hope you have an awesome time wherever you are and whatever you're doing. Cheers and goodbye.